Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams, and today's video is going to be my 10 palette review video for May. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for being here. Yes, today we are going to be doing my 10 palette review for this month. So these are the palettes I used in May, and that means we are rounding up the palettes that I bought in 2021 because most of these things here I bought towards the end of last year, save for a few Essence palettes that were released in the spring-summer season right now. And in case you're new here, hi, my name is Micah. I live in the Netherlands. I love coming on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice reviews, and getting the use out of my makeup. And because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I like to refer to myself as a snow angel. And if you would like to join my little snow angel club and get lots of recommendations that are perfect if you have similar skin to me, then definitely consider subscribing by clicking the button below this video. So yes, this is going to be a 10 palette review of the palettes that I've tried this month. There's actually going to be 11 because who am I? And if you have never watched one of these videos, then it's perhaps good to know that I always include pictures of swatches and looks that I've done with these videos. Whenever I review an eyeshadow palette, I have tried every single shade in that palette. Today, I'm gonna have to be very honest with you that for some of these, I didn't manage to do that. Also because the formula wasn't the best. I was like, I just want to try the formula, and if I've tried it, I'm good. But for the majority here, I did use every single shade. That's always my aim, which is why my reviews are slower than most people on social media. And I'm never like, I always take some time to decide, do I want to buy something or not? And that's definitely going into the way I review stuff as well. So yeah, we have a couple of things here to chat about, and the day this video goes live, it's perhaps good to know that I will have all of the pictures associated with these palettes linked in the accompanying blog post as well. So if you go to the description box down below, you don't want to hear me ramble, you just want to see swatches, I've got you there. And I've actually gone back to all of my older 10 palette review videos, and I've added the pictures of all of the palettes I've reviewed in the past 2 years in these kind of videos if I didn't have a dedicated review up yet. What I want to do moving forward is, rather than writing dedicated reviews over on the blog, is to just do a video like this and then add the pictures to the blog post, so that even if you want to go back to it sometime and just want to be reminded of what a palette looked like, that the pictures are there and you don't have to sit through an entire video. Or, you know, some people don't like sitting through a 25-30 minute video with me chatting about eyeshadow palettes and you just want to see swatches and looks. I've got you. So check out that description box down below for more goodness. That's what I'm trying to say. So let me start with the review, and I just want to hit us off on a high note because I love this palette. Is it my new favorite neutral eyeshadow palette? I don't want to go that far. I always need a bit of time to sort of let things sink into my brain. But the Zoeva Together We Grow eyeshadow palette is one that nobody's talking about because it's Zoeva, because I'm like the only person on this entire platform still talking about them. And they did a rebrand and they discontinued all of their palettes and they released 2 new ones. The first one I tried was very matte and very warm toned, and I didn't love it. But this is right smack in the middle neutral. You get some reddish tones here, but this is all very neutral. This is a little bit more greenish, cool tone leaning. So it's got a really great mix of shades here, and I love the looks I did with this. I loved every single thing here, and as I was using this, I was like, this is a great alternative to Nabla side by side as well. So I already mentioned the Fawn palette from Michaelou Cosmetics being a great dupe for that, but the Zoeva only has 10 shades, so it's even more curated. It doesn't have some of the doubling shades that the Michaelou one has. And what I love about this is that you get 5 mattes, 5 shimmers, and you can just do a look like this, or what I did, a look with each row, and then I also did a look with these like greenish shades, because the minute this shade, It's so pretty. And also this gold, I don't love golds. We all know that about me. But this gold has a bit of a green undertone as well, meaning it goes really well with these greenish taupey shades at the end. So yeah, you get 4 very neutrally shades, 4 warm-ish shades. This bronzy shade I really didn't mind as much as I thought I was going to mind it. And then you have those reddish tones. I mean, it's a very versatile neutral palette for just 10 shades. And it's a really, really good formula as well. Is it super duper like hyper pigmented? No, it's more of a buildable formula. The metallics are not super high shine metallics, but they are a really good like mix and very wearable shades that are great for every day. And I sort of already predicted when I used the first one that I was gonna like this more because there were more shimmers. But oh my, even the undertones of this were just so, so good. The next 2 palettes I'm going to briefly mention in tandem. I already wrote dedicated reviews on these on my blog because Essence and Catrice reviews usually do quite well. So that's why I was like, I might as well just review these separately as well. So in the blog post that I'm going to be linking you to, you're going to be linked to these dedicated reviews to see the looks I did. So we have the Welcome to Miami, which is a more colorful option. And these palettes have really good quality shadows for what Essence usually offers. I think this is a very similar formula to their mini palettes. Like I feel it's quite similar to that. The only thing I wasn't a big fan of was the color stories in both of these. So this looks a lot more interesting in the pan than it does when you start using it on your eyes, at least for me. And for Essence, these were, I believe, $6.99, which for Essence is quite expensive. And I would buy the little like mini palettes, like the Dancing Green and those kind of shades. I would buy those over this. I think if you buy 2 of those, it's about as expensive, and I feel the quality is better and the color stories are better too. So my issue with this one is that it looks very colorful. It's not. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seemingly colorful shades, but really like this yellowy shade is just a creamy shade, and this is like a very much like a skin tone shade, so those you need to discredit. We get a brown here, and then we get some like peachy corally shades. So really, we only get like 5 colorful shades, and then these 2 pulled very warm toned on me, which was a bit of a shame. And then really the only thing I really liked were these 2 shades. So yeah, I think this palette looks more interesting in the pan than what it ultimately gave me. Like it was, you know, it's wearable, colorful shades. And I think at the drugstore price point, it's great if you've never tried colorful eyeshadow. I think it's a great way to sort of like dip your toe into it if that's something you're interested in. You don't want to pay too much for it. But I also felt that the mattes in this did blend away quite easily, so they needed a lot of building. You could build them up for sure. Yeah, so nice formula, cute, like the idea, but in its execution, I just wanted more. I'm just a bit spoiled. And similarly, the Benvenuti a Roma from Essence is a neutral palette with a pop of green. That's what I would call it. Pretty, for sure. I was able to pull a very stunning, very basic look out of it. But I have things like this a million times over in my collection. So was this necessary for me to have? No. So that's why the Benvenuti Aroma, pretty. I think that this can be stunning if you have a more olivey undertone. But with this, I felt there was just a couple of shades that were a bit lacking. Like, we get a lot of light shades here, so it would have been nice if we were perhaps going to get a little bit more depth. I do really like that green though. That was really pretty, but I wanted more green. I wanted more green to really make this a green palette. You could do a green look with it for sure, but I just felt that this was like, it's just a warm tone, neutrally palette with a pop of something. And I'm over that. And I've been over that for the past 4 years. So this I just tried for the sake of the blog Pretty for sure, but not a must-have in my collection. Something that surprised me in a more positive way were these palettes from H&M. Now, H&M Beauty is not talked about a lot here on YouTube because it's just not that widely known that H&M does makeup, and it's also not very easily accessible because only their larger stores carry the makeup line, so you have to go online, which makes it a bit more of a challenge for people to buy. I bought 2 of the eyeshadow palettes to do a full face of H&M Beauty with last fall, and I hadn't tried the Vintage Rose yet, which is the bigger one of the 2. So I was like, I want to try this. So the first thing you should know is that the packaging is a bit difficult to open, and this I ended up liking a lot more than I thought. I'm still going to declutter it now that I've used it and filmed with it and doing all that. It's pretty though. It's very pretty. It's just that I have things like this already, but I like the formula. Yes, it's very soft. It very much reminds me of the Fenty Snap Shadows, where it's sort of like mattes and satiny shimmers. If you love satins, definitely check out the H&M formula because they're doing some really good things here. And I thought this was going to be too warm toned for me because we do get a little bit of warmth here, but this ended up being a really good crease shade for me. We get this really nice cool tone brown. These like pinky shades were really pretty on me as well. I ended up liking this a lot more than I had expected. But my favorite of the 2 is the quad. This is nice mauves. It's mauves, so you know I'm gonna like it. But this is a little bit deeper, a little bit more sultry, a little bit more oomph to it. And these are all sort of like, well, in a way you only really get one shimmer, and it's still not very vibrant or intense. These all have a little bit of like a satiny, creamy sort of quality to it. And you know what this reminded me of a lot when I was using it? Charlotte Tilbury. And then I looked on the back to see where this is made, and it's made in Italy. And guess where Charlotte Tilbury makeup is made? In Italy. So maybe it's like there is this theory out there that Charlotte Tilbury is made in the same factory as like Milani, and that Kiko is made in the same factory as Laura Mercier. Maybe H&M Beauty is made in that same factory too, I'm not sure. But this formula reminds me so much of what Charlotte Tilbury does. It even sort of has that similar sort of concept where, you know, you could use these 2 shades for a very basic look, and then you can add this for a little bit more of a glam look, and if you add this as a liner, you have a full face. So this quad, I really feel is a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury. Not shade-wise, but definitely formula-wise. If you want to try Charlotte Tilbury like type of quality, but at more of a budget, then definitely try this because I really liked it. And this was the color story of the 2 that I liked the best on me. It was very stunning. I really like that it gives me enough depth and definition to really make a more smoked out look, but I can keep it neutral as well. And with the other one, I felt it was a bit too light. And then there are a couple of palettes here that I had bought or had been gifted by a subscriber that I still had to try. I've had these for over a year, and I was like, I just need to bite the bullet and put these in a 10 palette review and just see whether I like them. And my least favorite of the 3 is the one I bought myself. This is from Max & More, which over here in the Netherlands you can buy from Action, which is a budget sort of, well, it's a store with like drugstore products. They have some makeup, but they also have homewares, and everything there is quite affordable. And also the makeup is quite affordable. So this was like €4.50. And I remember when I was swatching this, the mattes felt very weak. The shimmers looked really pretty in finger swatches. So I was very sort of like, okay, I'm just gonna try it and see if I like it. And I would buy an Essence palette over this for sure. Yes, you get a lot of shades. I did a look with the entire bottom row here. Now the reason why I wanted to use that bottom row for my look is because I wanted to make sure I used the 2 darkest mattes that this palette has to offer. So when you're seeing the darkest mattes that this palette have to offer, on my face, in the eye look, you'll see that they don't really do that much. So the mattes in this palette, very lackluster. And in the end, I was also let down by the shimmers in this as well. They have to be very much built up. This is definitely, you know, it's workable quality for sure, but this isn't my favorite formula. I was hoping to like find another great like affordable gem for you. This particular palette I believe is no longer sold anymore either, but this is just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, nice, okay, but I wouldn't spend my money on it again. And that's why for me the Floral Romance palette from Max & More isn't one that I wouldn't recommend. And then we have two palettes from Rival Hearts Me. And this is a German drugstore brand. I believe they're available from Rossmann, if I'm not mistaken. I cannot buy this, but this was sent to me by a lovely subscriber who said, I think you might like these. And I have to say that I ended up liking these a lot better than the Max & More. And these are, I think, even more affordable. These are like €3.50. And these, I think, are still available. And what I did when I tried these out, again, because I just wanted to sample the formula, is that I used a shade from every single column. So not from the row, but I used 6 shades, maybe 7, and then from like every single column. And I was very surprised by this Jungle Into the Jungle palette. That's what it's called. It looks like it's got like neutrals and then some berry shades with some warm tones and some greens. But I found on my skin tone that this brownie shade had a green undertone. And that made me so happy because it meant that those browns went really well with the greens. And then this shimmer at the bottom was really pretty too. The only downside I found with this is that it blends away quite easily. Not as easily as the Max & More, like that had a difficult time to stick down. This just has a lot of kick up when you stick your brush in. Like there's a lot of kick up. It's easy to create fallout with this. I never really struggle with fallout because I always tap off my brush. But with this, especially with the darker one of the two that I'm going to talk about in a minute, it was a little bit more difficult to apply. But there were some interesting, unique shades in here, like this tiger shade, this like very light toned olivey green shade with a hint of brown, almost taupe leaning. And then also this darker green was nice, which I used it as a bit of a liner and I thought it's probably just going to blend away into nothing, but it stuck down quite well. This murky purple shade is really pretty too. Like I had quite a lot of success with this. This was a lot better than I thought it would. And I think if you can get your hands on these and you want an eyeshadow palette that's not going to break the bank, then I think these Rival Hearts Me palettes are actually quite good value for money. They're not my favorite. Again, very powdery, kick up. If I like, also I can't buy these on the regular, so for me Essence is still where it's at when it comes to like very affordable makeup. Essence and Catrice is usually what I go for. But yeah, the Smokey palette is a lot of gray tones, and this ended up being my least favorite of the two, and that's mainly because it's just a little bit too gray. If this had more of a taupey brown feel to it, I would have liked it better, but I did really appreciate how it has this like blue tone over here. So that really saved the palette for me. This steely gray bluish shade was very pretty indeed. And something that I missed in here was like a matte transition. In here, it's like this or this, but there's nothing in between that can really like set up the look that isn't blue. So it's either blue or intense gray or a little bit too light for it to really do much of anything. So I wished there were more shades in this vein. This shade here at the end, so fabulous. That's a pretty shade. So are these like really well-rounded great palettes? Perhaps not, but there are enough workable shades in here that you can make pretty looks. It's just that with this, I mean, in terms of true mattes, because everything has a sheen, we just get the black, we get this, we get the white, and we get that. And everything else has a shimmer running through it or something. So that's why for me, I'd have wanted like a mid-tone, just a mid-tone matte, just one. I would have been happy. So for me, this white one can definitely go. I don't need anything like that. So for me, this was just not as perfect as the Into the Jungle palette. But yeah, lovely palettes. I'm really glad I got to try these. And then we're getting bougie. I tried the Dior House of Dreams palette from their holiday collection last year. I wore this in a video and a lot of people were saying that my makeup that day looked very fresh and pretty. And that's also how I felt when I wore this. Is this groundbreaking in terms of eyeshadow? No. I say go for the Revol if you just want something very basic that really doesn't break the bank. But these shades were very, very pretty indeed. It has enough definition for me to set up a look. Like I've got a crease shade, I've got a liner, I've got something for the lid, something on the lower lash line, something for the inner corner. That's how I would use it. This is one look in a palette with lots of one and done shadows actually, because this just by itself, or this by itself, or this by itself, stunning. This to deepen it up, and the silver in the middle to add a bit of vibrancy. I mean, I don't think this is the most amazing formula I've ever tried, but with these luxury quads from, or quintets I should say, from Dior, I have always appreciated them quite a bit. They have a lot of good things going for them, but don't expect this to be like the newest of the new innovative sort of formula that you've ever tried. This is great if you do everyday makeup and you want it to be easy to use. You don't have to sit for hours to blend things out. Dior eyeshadow is good, but I do feel it's overpriced for what you get. Now, an expensive brand that I feel isn't overpriced for what you get, Viseart. I'm going to end the video on a high note. The Paris Étoile is... this is such a stunning smoky eye palette. I thought it was very, very pretty. And while it's got quite a lot of gray in here, I just love this. It wasn't like the kind of grays that make you look like you're ill. These have a little bit of like, almost like a greenish blue tint to them, making them go really nicely with this like tealy navy shade. These purples go with it really well. I really appreciated this like taupey shimmer. I get something to blend things out with, something for the inner corner. This was such a pretty look in a palette. And with this, even though it's only 8 shades and it's very, very mini, I just love the way this came together. It really, really did. For me, this just worked so well. And the Viseart eyeshadow quality just blew me away. Like, yes, these are expensive for how much product you get. I believe these are like, what, 30, 35? And something like this is like 45 or something like that. So they are more highly priced, but I find with these Viseart palettes that the price point is definitely worth it. I want more. That Paris Edit palette is still very much calling my name. But then, the pièce de résistance. Cashmerie. Because I thought, when I first saw this launched, I don't need this. It's just another neutral palette. I have many. Then I saw Michelle Wong doing a video with this, and she mentioned how these two shades were a bit warm-toned, but if you left them out of the equation, then I was like, yeah, you know, it's got like neutrals and then some cool tones, and we've got some rosy tones. And then I used it, and I was like, but this is a great smack in the middle neutral palette. These two warm tones, not warm toned on me at all. They look warm in the pan, but they seem to have almost like, let's call them like a hazelnutty kind of quality to them. What I ended up doing with this palette is doing a look with this sextet and this sextet. So it made for such stunning, easy to use looks. And I've said it about this one in the past, but the way this palette is laid out, you can use 2 shades that are very close together, or a quad, or like I did 6 shades or 5 shades, and you will always end up with a look. So you can use this quad, you can use this quad, you can use this as a quad, this is a quad. Like, you can just mix and match this palette and you will get a perfect look every single time. And that's why I love this. This is amazing quality. I love how you get lots of different shimmer options here. We only get 4 mattes. Everything else has shimmer, and it's not this like super flaky metallic shimmer. It's more of a satin metallic shimmer. I'm calling it satin metallic because I feel it's not that foily metallic. It's a little bit more muted down, but I think especially if you have more mature lids, that shimmers like this are going to work much better. And then this shade is the only one that has a little bit of added vibrancy, but it's more like it's almost a duochrome. Do you see that? It just has an extra quality to it, but without it being sparkly or different. These shadows, like this is what I want. This is my kind of jam. Buildable, easy to use, like with the Dior, but these are a little bit more special in terms of quality instead of in the case of like what they have to offer. I love the shimmer formula in here. The Cashmerie is quite possibly, together with the Zoeva, one of my favorite new palettes that I've tried. So thank you so very much for watching my 10 palette review video. Let me know in a comment down below what your favorite palette was that you've tried recently. I would love to know. Please remember that I now have a full blog post with all of the pictures, so that if you ever need to go back to it for reference, that you can very easily find it there. And without further ado, I would like to thank you so very much for watching today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, so I hope you'd like to come back for more, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.